In return, the Sikh sent a handful of coarse grain with the message that fruit was for royalty. He was a humble peasant who lived on simple food. Lena Singh politely turned down the offer. Abdali did not know what to do with a people who would neither fight him in the open nor make friends with him. When he went after them in Sirhind, they fell on his rear and plundered his equipment near Lahore. He had to rush back to save the city. In January 1767, Abdali's general Jahan Khan, who had suffered many reverses at the hands of the Sikhs, audaciously marched up to Amritsar. The Sikhs had more than once rebuilt the Hari Mandir from the debris left by the Afghans and felt they were now strong enough to fight the Vandals in the open. The misals gathered in full strength and fell upon Jahan Khan. They killed over 5,000 Afghans before Abdali could come to their rescue. Abdali took Amritsar, but this time spared the Hari Mandir. Perhaps he had been told of the ways of the Sikhs reacted to the defilement of their shrines. Instead, he proceeded to their richest agricultural land in the Jalandhar Doab. He found the entire countryside hostile to Afghans. A news writer describes the situation. The Shah's influence is confined merely to those tracts which are covered by his army. The zamindars appeared in general so well affected towards the Sikhs that it is usual with the latter to repair by night to the villages where they find every refreshment. By day they retire from them and again fall to harassing the Shah's troops. If the Shah remains between the two rivers Bias and Sutlej, the Sikhs will continue to remain in the neighborhood, but if he passes over towards Sirhind, the Sikhs will then become masters of the parts he leaves behind them. Abdali was barely across the Indus when 3 Sardars turned up to reoccupy Lahore. The Afghan governor could not count on the collaboration of any of the citizens, not even of the Muslims whose interests Abdali had often professed to act. They petitioned the governor to hand over the capital to Lena Singh. The people are very glad and satisfied with the rule of the Sikhs. They might open the city gates at night or break holes in the city walls and thus admit them into the town. You will in that case fall victim to their wrath. In our opinion, therefore, you should have an interview with them, and after having settled something for yourself by way of allowance or jagir, should entrust the town to them. 9th Afghan invasion, 1769. Abdali made his 9th and final attempt to conquer Punjab in 1769, but he was like a spent bullet and could get no further than the Jhelum. He returned to Kandahar a sick and broken man and died on 23rd October 1772. The epitaph on his grave stated with pride, "The ears of his enemies were incessantly deafened by the din of his conquests." The Sikhs were certainly his enemies, and they more than any other people heard of his conquests, but all they learned from the din was to turn a deaf ear to it. Abdali was the bitterest antagonist of the Sikhs and paradoxically their greatest benefactor. Abdali spilled more Sikh blood than any other, but he also taught them that no people can become a strong and great nation without learning to shed blood. After the Afghan invasions, the death of Ahmed Shah Abdali created a novel situation in Punjab. Abdali's son and successor, Taimur, could do little more than hold his father's conquests west of the Indus along Kashmir, Bahawalpur, Multan, and Sindh. At the eastern end, the position remained fluid for a long time. The Mughal emperor was living at Allahabad in an undefined subservience to the English, who had already cast their protective mantle over the Nawab Wazir of Awadh. The English were, however, not yet ready to extend their power beyond the Ganges. Delhi was administered by Najib-ud-Dawla on behalf of the absentee emperor, but his writ did not run beyond 50 miles of the city walls because contentious bands of freebooters, Sikhs, Rohilas, Jats, Rajputs, and Marathas roamed the countryside and acknowledged no master save the leader of their own gang. This continued to be the state of affairs for some time until the Marathas seized Delhi. Although they had suffered grievously on the field of Panipat, in 8 years they recouped enough strength to be able to contend with their Indian adversaries. In 1769, Peshwa Madhav Rao opened negotiations with the Mughal emperor and his deputy, Najib-ud-Dawla. 3 years later, the year Abdali died, Madaji Sindhia put Shah Alam II back on the throne of his ancestors in the Red Fort and restored a semblance of order in the capital. With the Afghans quiescent on one side and the Marathas busy consolidating their hold on Delhi on the other, The territory between the Indus and the Jamuna were left to the Sikhs. They immediately set about dividing it among themselves. For the sake of clarity, it is best to examine the expansionist and contentious phases of the misals separately from the misals of another region. Okay. After two poor harvests of the 1780s, the monsoon failed completely, and the whole of southern Punjab up to Delhi was gripped by famine. Sikh horsemen brought their families with them and scoured the impoverished countryside for food. The famine and an epidemic of cholera that followed took a heavy toll of life. The famine of these years made the Sikh freebooters more ravenous. In January 1784, over 30,000 horsemen under the leadership of Jassa Singh, Ramgarhia, and Karam Singh forded the Jamuna and began to collect raki from towns and villages between the two rivers. These sardars, who dared so much in the field of battle, showed surprising timidity in the political field. When sounded by the emperor, they shrank from taking the imperial city under their protection. In this instance, the emperor turned for help to the English and the Marathas. The English in India did not have the confidence that of the directors of the East India Company in London would approve of extending power beyond the Ganges. The best that the Governor-General Warren Hastings could do was to preserve the status quo and try to keep the Sikhs and Marathas apart without committing his government in any way. He wrote, "It is certainly not for the interest of either the companies or the vizier's governor that the chiefs of the Sikh tribes should form any friendly connections with the Marathas. On the contrary, a disunion between them is much to be desired, and if any assurances to the Sikhs of our determination not to interfere in such disputes could foment or add to them, such assurances ought to be conveyed." By the winter of 1784, Shah Alam II concluded that the English were not willing to take over the administration. The Sikhs did not trust the Marathas, nor the Marathas the Sikhs. The Sikh chiefs lost patience with the English and concluded a treaty with Madaji Scindia 1785. They agreed to provide the Marathas with a contingent of 5,000 horses and give up the right to take raki in lieu of a jagir of 10 lakh rupees. The stipulated force of cavalry joined the Maratha camp, but were immediately suspected by the Marathas of spying. "The Sikhs are faithless. Having stayed in our camp for 2 months, they have closely studied everything about our troops," said a Maratha dispatch. The atmosphere of suspicion vitiated the treaty, and within a few weeks it was forgotten by both sides. Then there was a struggle for the possession of the Yamuna Gangetic Doab that went on for 6 years. Break up of the misals. This is the part where I wanted to read. Finally, we are here. In Majha, as in Malwa, the chief cause of discord between the misals was the relaxation of external pressure and the love of loot. The mountainous regions in the north had escaped Abdali's attention. Tradesmen had shifted their depots from the plains to the hills and begun to pass along the foot of the Himalayas. So like Jammu, Himachal. The richest among the hill states was Jammu. It was the riches of Jammu that proved the undoing of the Sikh chiefs of Majha. In 1774, the Jammu Raja Ranjit Dev fell out with his son Braj Raj Dev. The Sukarchakias and Kanayas espoused the cause of the son, the Bhangis that of the father. In the skirmishes that followed, Chahat Singh Sukarchakia was killed in an accident. Chandha Singh Bhangi was murdered by an assassin paid by Jai Singh Kanaya. In 1775, the Bhangis and the Ramgarhias fought a combination of the Kanayas, Sukarchakias, and Ahluwalias for 10 days without any result. Thereafter, the two Jassa Singhs fought each other. At first, the Ahluwalia defeated and injured the Ramgarhia. A year later, the Ramgarhia avenged himself by capturing the Ahluwalia and then magnanimously freeing him. The once supreme commander of the Dal Khalsa had to seek the aid of Jai Singh Kanaya to expel the Ramgarhias from Majha. They moved out of Hisar and immediately plunged into Malwa's equally senseless violent politics. In 1782, the Majha people again came to blows over Jammu. Braj Raj Dev, who had succeeded his father, murdered his own brother and nephew. The Kanayas supported Braj Raj Dev, and the Bangis supported members of the rival faction. The two misals thereafter joined hands to plunder Bradraj Dev. The Jammu Raja turned to Maha Singh Sukarchakia for help. Maha Singh first helped Bradraj Dev and then himself by looting the town. This angered the Kanaya, Jai Singh. There was another realignment of misals. Sukarchakias invited the Ramgaryas back into Majha, and the two misals, along with the Rajputs of Katoj, fought and defeated the Kanayas. The sordid game of ganging up, sometimes with one, sometimes with the other, went on. Among the most dexterous intriguers was Maha Singh Sukarchakia. With the loot of Jammu, he made the family fortune. With his own nimble mind and strong arm, he raised the house of Sukarchakia to the second most powerful among the misals. He was well on the way to reducing the Bhangis when his career of conquest was cut short by his death in 1792. It was quite clear that the misals had seen their day, and if the Punjab was to remain free, it would have to be united under one man who had both the power to abolish the misals and the vision to create a state which all Punjabis, Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs could call their own. This was the analysis made by the English traveller Forster when he wrote in 1783, "We may see some ambitious chief, led on by his genius and success, absorbing the power of his associates, display from the ruins of their commonwealth the standard of monarchy." These prophetic words were written when Ranjit Singh of the Sukarchakia misal was only 3 years old. Thanks for watching the prelude to Ranjit Singh Maharaja, and that was a lot of Afghan invasions. I think 9, right? Jai Mata Di.